People are so bad at predicting the future because they're always trying to predict what's going to change. They're always trying to predict what's the next new technology, who's going to win the next election, when's the next recession going to come. And our ability to do that is zero. It's virtually zero. If your life played out 1,000 times, 1,000 different iterations of your life, what would be true in 999 of them?
A lifetime of good savings habits can't be transitioned into a spending phase. Look, I think what a lot of people want out of money is the ability to stop thinking about money. They want to have enough money so that they can stop thinking about it and just focus on other stuff. But that ultimate goal can break down when your relationship with money becomes an ingrained part of your personality. Years ago, I came across this quote from the Washington Post. That was from June of 1927, the roaring 1920s, the last hurrah before the Great Depression. The headline says, quote, "The more you are snubbed while poor, the more you enjoy displaying your wealth when rich." I think that is timeless. It explains so much. After the COVID-19 lockdowns, there was this concept of revenge spending, just a furious blast of conspicuous consumption, letting out everything that had been pent up and held back in 2020. And revenge spending, I think, happens at a broad level too. The most stunning examples I've seen of this are wealthy adults who grew up poor, and they were heckled and they were bullied and they were teased for being poor as kids. Their revenge spending mentality, I think, can become permanent and last throughout their entire life. If you dig into it, I think you'll see that a disproportionate share of those who have the biggest homes, the fastest cars, the shiniest jewelry, they grew up snubbed in some way. A part of their current spending isn't about getting value out of the flashy material goods. It's about healing a social wound that was inflicted on them when they were younger. And even when wound is the wrong word to describe what's going on here, the desire to show the world that you've made it increases if you grew up snubbed out of what you wanted. Because look, to someone who grew up in an old money, affluent family, something like a Lamborghini might be the ultimate symbol of gaudy egotism. But to those who grew up with nothing, that car might serve as the ultimate symbol that you've made it and you've come out on the other side. A lot of spending is done to fulfill a deep-seated psychological need, much more, I think, than we give credit to. And if people become introspective about how they grew up, what was painful to them when they were growing up, not just as a kid, but even as teenagers and young adults, I think they can explain quite a bit of their current spending patterns, which is what I call entrapped by spending. Rather than using money to build a life, your life is built around money. George Vanderbilt, who was one of the big Vanderbilt heirs who inherited billions and billions of dollars, he spent 6 years building a house called the Biltmore. It's 135,000 square feet. You heard that right. It has 40 master bedrooms and a full-time staff of nearly 400 people. But the craziest thing about it is that George Vanderbilt allegedly spent very little time in the house. And there's this quote where he talks about how little time he spent there. And he says, quote, "The house is utterly unaddressed to any possible arrangement of life." Which, of course, it's 135,000 square feet. It's basically a commercial building. It doesn't feel like a home. But the house, nevertheless, it costs so much money to maintain that it nearly ruined Vanderbilt. 90% of the land was eventually sold off to pay taxes, and the house was turned into a tourist attraction. You can still go visit it today. So that to me is astounding. You have like one of the richest people in the world who builds one of the largest houses that's ever been built, and he's a prisoner to it. He doesn't spend any time there, but it nearly ruins him because it costs so much money to maintain. What is the benefit of that? There's this 1875 op-ed where someone says that New York socialites, quote, "devote themselves to pleasure regardless of expense." George Vanderbilt had an amazing response where he says, actually, socialites devote themselves to expense regardless of pleasure. And the Vanderbilts are obviously extreme. They're like the most extreme that they get. But that is a common trait among even ordinary people. The devotion to expense regardless of pleasure. Part of this is the belief that spending money will make you happier, when it by and large doesn't, either because it never will or because you haven't discovered the purchases that will actually bring you joy. I've often wondered how many personal bankruptcies or just financial troubles were caused by spending that brought people no joy to begin with. They're spending money on things that didn't even bring them any joy, and then that spending makes them go bankrupt or just causes them a lot of financial grief. It has to be enormous. And it's a double loss at that point, because not only are you in financial trouble, but you didn't even have any fun getting there. There's no upside at all. I have this old friend who buried himself in credit card debt to go skiing in Europe, and he loved every single second of it. That I can wrap my head around. Like, that decision, that makes sense. Even if I wouldn't necessarily recommend burying yourself in credit card debt, but he's in control of his finances. He knew exactly what he was doing. But what about those whose spending is just driven by the belief that money is to be spent, regardless of what pleasure it might bring? Money to them has them by the neck. They are held captive by its influence. They are prisoners to their own money. This is what I call frugality inertia. A lifetime of good savings habits can't be transitioned into a spending phase. Look, I think what a lot of people want out of money is the ability to stop thinking about money. They want to have enough money so that they can stop thinking about it and just focus on other stuff. But that ultimate goal can break down when your relationship with money becomes an ingrained part of your personality. You struggle to break away from focusing on money because the focus itself is a big part of who you are. If you developed an early system of saving money and living well below your means, great, that's awesome, you've won. But if you can never break away from that system, and you insist on a heavy savings program well into your retirement years, what does that look like? Is that still winning? For a lot of people, no, it's not. I talk to a lot of financial planners who say that one of their biggest challenges is getting clients to spend their money in retirement, even like an appropriate conservative amount of money. And so many of them just can't. Frugality and savings become such a big part of some people's identity that they can never switch gears. And look, I think for some people, that's actually fine. That's okay. Because watching money compound gives them more pleasure than they would ever get spending it. But that's maybe like 5% of people or something that actually truly enjoy watching money compound. But those whose ultimate goal is to stop thinking about money become stuck. And refusing to recognize that you've met your goal can be just as bad as never meeting the goal to begin with. The emotional attachment to large purchases, particularly buying a house, I would say, especially your first house. My wife and I pride ourselves on making unemotional financial decisions, but many years ago, this is, 8 years ago or so, when we were in the market for our first house, we found one online on Zillow that we liked, and as we headed out for a tour, we promised ourselves that we would not do anything rash. This was just gathering information, seeing what was out there. And then as we pulled into the driveway of this house that was for sale, my wife gasped, and she said, "I love it." And I did too. It was awesome. We had an infant son, our first child, and there was this kid's tree swing in the front yard. Like, everything was perfect. And after that moment, like, that was it. There was a lot of emotions in the equation that were involved in this, and there's nothing we could do about it. It was an emotional decision, full stop. And we have zero regrets. The house was great, and it worked out. It was our first house. Everything was awesome. But no one should pretend that you can make a life-changing decision that will massively impact you and your family and treat it like it's a math problem, like it's a spreadsheet equation that you're just trying to find the answer on. That's just not how it works. Jason Zweig of the Wall Street Journal, he once wrote about his mom selling her longtime house, and he writes, quote, "I have no emotional attachment to the house. I never liked it physically," his mom told them, "but everything important that ever happened in our life as a family is here, and I just can't leave that all behind." Now, look, if I said, "How much are the memories with your kids worth?" you would say it's impossible to put a dollar amount on that figure. You can't. But if I said, "How much is the house where you formed those memories with your kids worth?" or "How much does staying in your local town impact your salary?" you could probably spit out an exact dollar figure with ease. And understanding the difference between those two, between the emotions and the memories and the sentimental value of some of your big purchases, and the ease at which you are able to attach a dollar amount to the actual house that you're buying, that explains a lot of spending decisions. The joy of spending can diminish as income rises because there's less struggle, sacrifice, and sweat represented in your purchases. In his 1903 book, The Quest for the Simple Life, author William Dawson writes that, quote, The thing that is least perceived about wealth is that all pleasure in money ends at the point where economy becomes unnecessary. The man who can buy anything he covets without any consultation with his banker values nothing that he buys. Now, consider how you felt when you got your first paycheck from your first job. If you celebrated with as little as a milkshake from McDonald's, you probably had this amazing feeling of like, wow, I did it. I bought this. I bought this with my own money. Going from not being able to buy anything to being able to buy something is amazing. The gap between struggle and reward is a big part of just what makes people happy. And if you contrast that with later in your career, when hopefully you have some savings and your paychecks have grown, it's not that spending won't make you happy. It's that it won't be as thrilling and as adrenaline-inducing as it was when there was more struggle behind each dollar.
People are so bad at predicting the future because they're always trying to predict what's going to change. They're always trying to predict what's the next new technology, who's going to win the next election, when's the next recession going to come. And our ability to do that is zero. It's virtually zero. But for the people like Buffett who focus on what's not going to change, their ability to understand the future is actually pretty good. And so they're focusing on parts of human behavior that have never changed, that were true 500 years ago, that will be true 500 years from now. And so I have no idea when the next recession is going to come, but I know exactly how people are going to respond to greed and fear, because that's never changed. There's a great quote from Naval where he says, if your life played out 1,000 times, 1,000 different iterations of your life, what would be true in 999 of them? And those are the things that you want to focus on in life, because those are not things that are guided by luck or chance or, just the quirky ways of the world. I love that framing. And it also occurred to me that a lot of what I had been writing about for the previous 15 years were things that never change. I think in many ways, psychology of money is the psychology of you, the individual. It's like what's going through your head. And same as ever is the psychology of us as a collective. It's just what do we keep doing as a society, as a group, over and over and over again? One other thing that really struck me here that was kind of influential to this book for me was one of my favorite books is a book called The Great Depression, A Diary. It's written by a lawyer named Benjamin Roth, who during the Great Depression kept a very detailed diary about what he saw all over his town in Ohio that his son published. And it's the best economics book ever written. And during that diary, there's one diary entry from, I think, 1932, where he says, what I see around the Great Depression in 1932, it reminds me exactly of what happened in 1920 and in 1878 and in 1865. And he's like, it's the same forces happening over and over and over again. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And then a couple pages later, it dawned on me that what he was writing in 1932 is exactly what happened in 2008. The way that people were dealing with uncertainty and greed and fear, it never changes. It's the same movie over and over and over again. And so if you focus on those things that never change, I think it's our only ability to really understand the future, your future, society's future, the economy's future. But it's just not as exciting as focusing on what is going to change. Like all of the attention in the media focuses on what's the next big technology, what is going to change. I was told many years ago by Jason Zweig, a great friend and mentor of mine from the Wall Street Journal, that you should only write a book if in your brain you have to do it. Not like, oh, I should do it, or like, oh, that's a lot of money that I could get for doing it. Only doing it if you're like, I can't sleep until I get these ideas on paper. And even in blog form, for my entire career, that's always been the case. I'm not a, sit down at my desk at 9 o'clock and publish by 4 o'clock kind of person. I've always been, I'm just going to toss around a bunch of ideas in my head, and I'm only going to sit down and write when I can't do anything else until I get this done. The idea is so fresh and it's just spilling out of me. And there's been plenty of times when we'll be like grocery shopping with my wife and kids, and I'm basically just like, I have to go, I need to go sit down at the computer and write this out. And the opposite of that, if I'm like, oh, I should probably write something this week, let's force out the words, it's garbage every single time. I feel like I didn't necessarily choose to write this book. I think I would have been really happy just stopping at Psychology of Money and saying, that's great, I'm just going to quit while I'm ahead, which is a general idea that I really admire. But I think it got to the point where I was like, I have to do this. And it struck me around, it was kind of the early days of COVID when this really struck me. I was writing almost every week, almost every day about things that never change and putting a lot of thought into it. And it really became like a philosophy that guides my entire life. And I think, to tell you the truth, it relieved a lot of anxiety from my life once I kind of internalized a lot of these ideas. Anxiety about the future. What's my future hold? What's the economy going to do next? During the early days of COVID, what's COVID going to do next? Once you admit that we have no idea, we have no clue. We have no clue what's going to happen. But that doesn't mean that you're giving up or just becoming a fatalist. It's just like, let's shift our attention to what we know is going to be true. And I honestly think I became happier and calmer, and like my life improved once I got to that point.